Nestled in the heart of the Sonoran Desert, Desert Botanical Garden stands as a testament to the beauty and resilience of desert flora. Established in 1939, this sanctuary has grown into a world-renowned conservation site and an attraction for visitors across the world.
So when the garden was first conceptualized, most people didn't have a very high opinion of the desert because the national connotation of what it meant, maybe a desert as a wasteland or a place where there's not much to see or do, really seemed like a mark on the state.
As Arizona sought statehood, its imagery was carefully curated to exclude the harsh desert landscape, favoring greener, more fertile visuals.
I think if you look at the state seal, when you get an idea of what image the state wanted to project, and there's not one cactus in it. At first that may seem kind of minor, but it's really, to me, significant that not only just didn't brag about the desert and the cactus and what makes us unique. In the 30s, people were ripping out desert plants left and right, and they were planting what they knew from home, from back east or from the Midwest, and they were really wiping out our natural history, I think almost in fulfillment of that image in the state seal. Evidence of that I see every day when I walk my dog. We cross streets named after trees from far away. There's holly, cypress, oak, and there's palm. No reference to the desert. It's sort of not only in what we were planting, but in what we were even calling things, our vocabulary. It was wiping the desert out of our identity.
In the face of opposition, a group of 16 men and women, calling themselves the Arizona Cactus and Native Flora Society, and led by Gustav Stark and Gertrude Webster, stepped up to the challenge of saving the valley's native landscape.
I think that's what really alarmed a small number of people, who included our founders. They were swimming against the tide. What they wanted here in Papago Park was really a sanctuary for desert plants that spoke against that notion of the desert has no value and we need to remake it into something else. And then they created their own slogan, was to glorify, not destroy. So there was sort of this, I think, tug of war for the soul of Phoenix and the soul of Arizona. And the fact that we got the Desert Botanical Garden in the late 30s and have it now represents a victory for local plants, local habitats, and what makes us unique. I think the founders were unlikely heroes. They didn't choose a path in life to be environmentalists or champions for a garden, but I think they were just so motivated by what they saw, what they felt we were losing, that they felt compelled to step up for the plants and the rest of us to say, this is too important to lose, we have to save.
Despite multiple setbacks, the founders of the Desert Botanical Garden worked tirelessly, navigating societal and legal challenges to protect and showcase the desert's native plants. Finally, on December 12, 1938, the first cactus were planted at the garden, with the official opening just 2 months later in February 1939.
So it was rough going at first. Really, the job, once we had received the land, was to acquire a plant collection that represented Arizona and the world of cactus, North, South, and Central America, but mostly the Sonoran Desert. Slowly, they brought specimens from Mrs. Webster's garden. There was a donation from California of agaves. Gustav donated his collection, but think about that there were still 148 acres to fill. So they just inch by inch, plot by plot, started building a garden, which today is now more than 50,000 plants strong. So, for example, these cactus around me, they're cardones, were acquired in 1940. Our first director had a pickup truck with a 5-foot payload. He drove to Baja California. These plants couldn't be any taller than 5 feet, otherwise they wouldn't have fit into the truck. So they were brought back here, put in the ground, and now today they're majestic. But it takes a long time. So that's how they got started, space by space, species by species, and building a collection that over time has turned into the premier collection of cactus and agaves in the world.
When you visit Phoenix, you will sooner or later probably enter this small adobe, the entrance to the Desert Botanical Garden. It is not a large garden, perhaps several acres in size, Yet in just 30 minutes, you will see more varieties of desert plants and flowers than you would see in 30 days of driving throughout the West and Mexico.
Over its 85-year history, the garden has played a pivotal role in conserving rare and endangered desert plants and has educated millions about the ecological importance of these ecosystems. But the true lesson that lies inside the trails of the garden is just now beginning to bloom.
So our garden has contributed a lot to science. Something we're all so proud of is that the research about agaves that now informs the world happened here. A textbook about the agaves of North America, that was written by our scientists in this very space. Same thing happened in 2000 when another scientist who was on our team wrote the definitive encyclopedia of the cacti of North America.
85 years later, because of the care, nurturing, and dedication of its founders and members, the garden has become more than just a collection of plants. It's a community, a living museum, a testament to resilience in the face of adversity, and a reminder of our responsibility to the planet for generations to come.
The world is a different place than it was in 1939. We were worried about local issues. We're worried about this valley losing its natural heritage. No more cactus, no more desert. Those were the rallying cries back then. It's amazing how little our mission statement has changed since 1939. There are 4 key words: conservation, education, research, and exhibition. Now, it was in a different context back then, but that's exactly what we do today. It's just the scale is so much larger. The cactus are among the 5 most endangered life forms in the wild. So there's a critical need for the work we do and everyone else in preserving what's left and someday growing back populations.
Just as this garden was built with the simple idea of preserving the natural desert landscape, today it stands as a beacon of hope, proving that with vision, passion, and perseverance, we can protect our world's most fragile ecosystems for future generations.
We're 85 years young. We're planning now for the next 85 years. In our exhibition programs, we have 10 acres in our West Campus that needs to be developed as new garden spaces, picking up on themes we have already and adding new themes. We want to build a new children family garden to start our education programs with kids who are 2 and 3 years old. That's something new. In our conservation and research programs, we're a founding partner in something called CASCA, the Central Arizona Conservation Alliance. We're working with our partners to restore, rehabilitate the mountain park system that rings this valley. And that, I think, will be one of our hallmark accomplishments when our successors celebrate the 170th anniversary of the garden 85 years from now. I think we were green before green was cool. And I think our founders saw that on a local scale, we were losing touch with our connection to our natural history, our heritage. That's still the same, but now on a much larger scale. And there are different threats. It's not just people planting non-native species downtown. It's climate change. It's extreme drought. It's the loss of biodiversity through non-smart development. That's really where the garden is focusing now, with the same intent, but on a much larger scale. So I try to channel the enthusiasm from 85 years ago when I read about Gertrude and Gustav dedicating this new garden. I like to bring that same energy and I hope vision to today and setting the table for what this garden is going to be like and do in the next 85 years. It's just a wonderful challenge. And for me personally, I've been here over 20 years. It's been my life's work. When I hand it off, I'll be happy to do so and let the next generation take over, and I'll become a member and sit back and watch and enjoy all that the new team does and accomplishes. I can say that for everyone here. All of our staff members, our more than 700 volunteers, our board members, we really get a charge out of being here, enjoying the beauty that you see around me, and preserving it for generations to come. It's just a pleasure and an honor for all of us to be affiliated and to be a steward for this wonderful institution.